Cailin Roper is from WA and she has not been able to join us, but we've known about that for some time because of the WA hard border closure that was lifted a bit too late for her to make arrangements to come, but she promises me she'll come next year. Caitlin's an activist, writer and PhD candidate at RMIT University, where she's researching female-bodied sex dolls and robots. She's campaigns manager at Collective Shout for a world free of sexploitation, a grassroots campaigning movement against the objectification of women and the sexualization of girls. Caitlin's also a founding member of Adopt Nordic WA and co-founder of the Feminist Academy of Technology and Ethics. Her upcoming book, Sex Dolls, Robots and Woman Hating, The Case for Resistance, will be published late this year by Spinifex Press. Caitlin's first topic, I think, is the porn one. Yeah. Okay, how porn grooms women for abuse. A culturally approved script for violence against women. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Cailin Roper from Collective Shout. I'm so sorry I can't be there in person with you all, but I'm glad to be able to contribute something. After decades of research and activism by radical feminists around the world, there's now at last more mainstream acknowledgement of the harmful influences of pornography in shaping male sexuality. There's also more understanding of how it influences the attitudes of men and boys towards sex and their sexual behaviours and practices. But how does porn and living in a porn culture impact on women's sexuality and women's sexual practices? I'd like to speak about the role of pornography in normalising men's acts of violence and degradation of women, and the grooming of women and girls to tolerate and even embrace this violence as empowerment. But first, I want to acknowledge that women are also significantly harmed in the production of pornography, not just its consumption. The first victims of the porn industry are the women within it. Pornography is not merely a fantasy, it is done to women. It is a record of the sexualized abuse of those women. The only fantasy of porn is men's beliefs, that deep down women really want and enjoy mistreatment and abuse, that it is part of our inherent natures, and that our no's really mean yes. But porn also harms women as a whole, as a class. It portrays male dominance and female subordination as natural and desirable. It objectifies women and eroticizes our violation. It sexualizes men's aggression, degradation, humiliation of, and cruelty to women. And it portrays women as desiring and enjoying this abuse. Pornography glorifies violent and abusive sex acts which, if they took place outside of porn or without the presence of a camera, would be identified as rape, assault, battery, and even torture. Culturally, we seem to have bought into this idea that if violence, racism, misogyny, or abuse is done in pornography, or if it's done for the purpose of men's sexual gratification, then it falls under the umbrella of sex and is off limits from condemnation or critical analysis. Given the prevalence of sexual violence, coercion, and abuse in pornography, as reported by performers themselves, we need to ask, why hasn't the porn industry been cancelled? The porn industry has been so effective in mainstreaming its product that the common defense to acts of sexualized violence and abuse of women in porn is, but some women like it. Pornography has so deeply infiltrated our lives and our sexuality that some women do say they enjoy this violent and degrading treatment, extolling the virtues of so-called rough sex, which includes choking or strangulation, slapping, gagging, spitting, and misogynistic name-calling, staple sex acts in pornography. These degrading acts are not just normalized in porn, they're portrayed as sexy and desirable for women and girls. As sex acts they should find erotic. Girls are learning that they are supposed to enjoy men's acts of aggression and degradation, And if they don't, there's something wrong with them. If they reject porn sex acts, preferring instead sexual relationships premised on intimacy and love and mutual respect, they are branded vanilla and sexually boring. Through pornography, girls are being groomed to tolerate and even embrace their own degradation. As porn has become more mainstream, its messages are reinforced in popular culture through porn-themed advertising, women's magazines, books and films, and plenty more. And I'm going to go over just a few examples today. One of the most visible examples of eroticized female subordination is Playboy-owned sex store Honey Birdette. Despite broadcasting porn and BDSM-themed representations of women to an all-ages audience in shopping centres around the country, and I'm talking larger-than-life shopfront ads depicting women in fetish gear, collars and leashes like dogs, Honey Birdette claims to be all about empowering women. What does Honey Birdette female empowerment look like? It looks like eroticized female subordination. Its portrayals of women as headless, faceless, bound, chained, and objectified convey exactly the opposite of empowerment, the sexualized subjugation of women. Honey Birdette not only promotes female submission as empowerment, but also eroticizes violence against women. Last year, they played a video on a loop outside stores around the country, depicting a woman in BDSM-style lingerie choking herself. Honey Birdette ad imagery portrays women as desiring and inviting sexual violence, with porn-inspired images of women bound and chained accompanied by text like "blissfully bound" and "cuff me up, baby." Another ad campaign featured shopfront images of upskirting, eroticizing the violation of women for profit. It should come as no surprise that Honey Birdette has been called out for a toxic workplace culture, with ex-staff alleging sexual harassment, a sexist dress code, bullying, and abusive treatment. One former teenage employee described how she was pressured to go on a date with an older male customer as her sales were low that month. More female empowerment by Honey Birdette. 365 Days is a film about a young woman, Laura, who is abducted and held hostage by a member of the Sicilian mafia, Massimo. Like 50 Shades of Grey before it, 365 Days romanticizes male domination and abuse. Massimo's intense outbursts of anger and acts of violence against Laura, like grabbing her by the throat, pinning her down and slamming her against walls, are portrayed as passion and therefore hot. Violations of Laura's consent, like Massimo performing sex acts on her while she is being held against her will, physically restrained and vocally protesting, also known as sexual assault, are painted as erotic. The takeaway messages from the film are that male aggression against women is hot, that women secretly desire and enjoy violence and abuse, and that even no really means yes. The film, which was ranked #1 on Netflix, attracted a significant response from young women and girls. Scenes were reposted on social media, with girls reportedly watching at school and leaving comments like, "Waiting for my Massimo," "I want to have him," and "Sexiest man alive." One video shared on TikTok featured a young woman proudly showing off her many bruises, apparently after a sexual encounter inspired by the film. Major social media platforms host thousands of posts and videos using hashtags like choking. On TikTok, the hashtag KinkTok has attracted videos from teen girls expressing their desire to be choked by male sexual partners, as well as for CNC, which stands for consensual non-consent or rape play, and knife play. On Instagram, hashtags relating to choking or kink glorify the practice and give tips on how to safely choke a sexual partner. All of these practices are defended as empowering to women, but women don't achieve meaningful power from objectification, degradation, and men's violence against them. The eroticization and normalization of violence against women has serious real-world harms for women. Strangling or choking is a particularly serious form of violence against women. It's a known red flag for future homicide, which can be fatal, with victims at risk of brain damage or death, even weeks or months later. It's become so prevalent that a strangulation trauma centre has opened up in Brisbane in response to provide counselling and support to victims. Many women are reporting pressure to submit to such acts they do not enjoy. A 2019 study from Indiana School of Public Health found that nearly a quarter of women in the US have felt scared during sex, with a number of these having been choked without warning by their male partners. Sometimes these acts result in death. UK-based campaign group We Can't Consent to This has documented at least 60 cases where women have been killed by men who have claimed it was due to rough sex or a sex game gone wrong. A number of these women were killed by strangulation. Last year, research from Birmingham City University in the UK found that the normalisation of BDSM and rough sex in media and popular culture had generated a culturally approved script for men who kill women. Criminologist Professor Elizabeth Yardley wrote, "The normalisation and mainstreaming of rough sex in popular culture through films like 50 Shades of Grey and the way in which porn and women's magazines present acts like strangulation as play have created a culturally approved script for perpetrators of violence against women, regardless of whether or not they have an established relationship with the victim." The portrayal of sexualized acts of violence against women as sexy and fun not only contributes to a culture of violence against women, it silences victims by preventing them from identifying what happened to them as abuse, because women are supposed to enjoy sexual violence. SBS documentary See What You Made Me Do, based on the award-winning book by journalist Jess Hill, featured an interview with a woman on her experiences of domestic abuse. When asked if she'd been subjected to physical violence by her abusive partner, she said that he had choked her, but because it took place during sex, she didn't know if it counted. Another survivor explained how her abuser used kink as a Trojan horse to establish an atmosphere of terror and fear, strangling her and holding her down. We cannot underestimate the role of pornography in fueling men's violence against women and in grooming and conditioning women to accept it as normal. There are signs of hope. More women are starting to recognise and speak out about the harms of porn. In a recent interview, singer Billie Eilish shared how she had been harmed by porn, having been exposed to it at age 11 and becoming a regular consumer. She said, "I was an advocate. I thought I was one of the guys and would talk about it and think I was really cool for not having a problem with it. I think it destroyed my brain, and I feel incredibly devastated that I was exposed to so much porn." Billie attributed sleep paralysis, nightmares, and night terrors to the violent and abusive porn she was watching. She says, "It got to the point where I couldn't watch anything else. Unless it was violent, I didn't think it was attractive. And I was a virgin. I had never done anything. So it led to problems where the first few times I had sex, I was not saying no to things that were not good. And it's because that's what I thought I was supposed to be attracted to. I'm so angry that porn is so loved, and I'm so angry at myself for thinking that it was okay." A forthcoming book edited by Melinda Tankard-Reist contains the stories of a number of women living with porn-consuming partners. That will be published later this year by the wonderful Spinifex Press, so look out for that one. At Collective Shout, we've spent years campaigning against porn and have seen some significant results of late. As part of a global collaboration, we held major porn sites accountable for crimes against women and girls. We had backed a petition spearheaded by Lila Micklethwait, calling for an investigation into Pornhub, the world's biggest porn dispensing platform, which reached a staggering 2 million signatures. Executives at MindGeek, the Canadian company that owns Pornhub, were forced to face a Canadian Parliament Ethics Committee inquiry to account for allegations of sex trafficking, posting videos of underage girls, rape, and non-consensually shared content. major MindGeek PornTube site XTube was permanently shut down. Pornhub, YouPorn and XHamster are due to be closed down in Germany for refusing to protect children via required age verification procedures. MasterCard blocked its services from porn sites hosting illegal material following a private briefing which included Collective Shout Movement Director Melinda Tankard-Reist. Streaming site Roku revised its policy, effectively banning Pornhub and other porn sites. We're now backing a class action against MindGeek filed by our partners at the National Centre on Sexual Exploitation Law Centre on behalf of survivors. Closer to home, we were pleased to announce last year that after years of calling for a system to protect children from exposure to porn, the federal government announced support for an age verification system, instructing the E-Safety Commissioner to come up with a roadmap for the rollout of the new system. So what can you do? You can like and follow Collective Shout on social media, sign up at our website to keep up to date on this issue and get involved in our campaigns. You can write to your MP, ask them to make a commitment to fast-tracking a porn age verification system. We can't wait for the report at the end of the year, and that's just the report. You can write to Labor, minor parties and independents and ask them all to match the government's commitment to devise a system of age verification to limit children's exposure to porn. This is really beyond partisan politics. We need a system in place. We need whoever is elected to be committed to implementing this. We've also been calling for an upheaval to ad industry regulation, as advertising in Australia is self-regulated with nothing to prevent sexist, objectifying and porn-inspired ads in the public space. And that's how we have Honey Birdette broadcasting porn-themed and BDSM-themed ads in shopping centres around the country. 11 years ago, the government said that if the ad industry didn't shape up, they would have to revisit a co-regulatory system. They haven't, and it's been 11 years. So please ask your candidate to support a co-regulatory regime around advertising. You can also join more than 77,000 others in signing our petition calling on shopping centres to take action against Honey Birdette porn-themed advertising in their own shopping centres. If you'd like to be more involved in any of these campaigns, please feel free to get in touch with us through our website, collectiveshout.org, and we would be thrilled to join forces. Thanks for watching, and I hope you feel inspired to take action.